All right, we're live. So welcome back to Dapp University. Today we got a lot of big news to cover, and the first major news item is that Twitter is considering buying Bitcoin for its corporate balance sheet, just like Tesla did a few days ago. We talk a lot on this channel about how corporate adoption or institutional adoption of Bitcoin is such a huge deal for what's been happening in the crypto space lately, especially with the price of cryptocurrencies going up like crazy, notably Bitcoin. And we have another corporate giant throwing their name in the ring today, talking about how they're considering purchasing Bitcoin for their balance sheet as well. So we're talking about that. Look at the crypto markets today. Look at a couple of FAQs that you all have sent in who are trying to get into the blockchain industry and take advantage of this space while it's still early. So we got a lot to cover. If you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to become a blockchain master step by step from start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. So I can see we got people rolling in the chat here. We got Todd, Junior, Morphers, Steven, Zach, Darius, Ram, Ty, Michael. Awesome. Sound is bad. Let's see here. Can y'all hear me okay? Bad sound. How about now? Is that any better? Echo, how about now? Oh, I think I know what's going on. Hold on. Sound like a robot. Let's see here. Better? Can you hear me now? Everything's good? Awesome. Okay, perfect. All right, now we're all good. So sorry for the technical difficulty, everybody. So I messed it up again. Can you guys hear me okay? Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, check. All right, I think I know what's going on here. All right, how about now? All good? Echo? Okay, I see what's going on here. This is the setting. So I found what's going on here, everybody. We're good. We're good. We're good. Awesome. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, perfect. I see what the problem is. Thanks for your patience, everybody. I'm still figuring out this live stream software. It's pretty complicated. I could send you a screenshot of what I'm looking at. It looks like a airplane or something like that on the inside. So I've got like multiple monitors going on here. I've got audio, I've got video, I've got all this kind of stuff. So thanks for your patience. Okay, so let's jump into this. My apologies, everybody. We'll get to the point. So Twitter's CFO has been talking about their very serious interest into Bitcoin for their balance sheet. Okay, so this is not an official thing yet. They've not said that they're officially going to do this, but the interest is really strong, and even the fact that they're coming out with this as a public conversation is huge. Because, like I said, we've seen the situation where we had some really early adopters in the space. Square, which Jack Dorsey's also the CEO of, get into the Bitcoin game really early last year. And so it really wouldn't surprise me if Twitter ultimately pulled the trigger on this, especially after Tesla did it earlier this week. We saw some speculations yesterday that Apple could do something like this. Although some of that looked more like a suggestion for people to tell Apple to do it rather than, Apple necessarily hinting that they're going to do something like that. But people kind of speculated that a lot of the pieces were in the right places for Apple to do that because they have the Apple Pay, you can do Apple Wallet, all that kind of stuff. They could just take a very small amount of their daily cash flow, maybe like 4 days of cash flow, and put it into Bitcoin, and that would be a huge move for them. So, like I said, we're seeing this across the board. Twitter seems to be the next big player. One thing I want to try out on the live stream today is actually just play you a video clip of the Twitter CFO talking about this. So I'm going to give this an experiment today and see if this works. So let's give this a shot. I'm actually going to pull this up on my
CFO question for you here.
Hold on. Let me try this. So let's do this.
CFO question for you here.
All right.
Which is we just watched. Well, we just watched Elon Musk take corporate treasury money effectively and invest it in Bitcoin. And given Jack Dorsey's interest in Bitcoin, I'm curious what your reaction to that was and how you think about that potentially for Twitter itself.
So we watch closely what other companies do to see what we can learn from them. And when we think about our balance sheet, we think about matching how it's invested and the currencies in which it's invested relative to how we might pay people, whether it's paying somebody who's providing a service to us or paying employees. So we've done a lot of the upfront thinking to consider how we might pay employees should they ask to be paid in Bitcoin, how we might pay a vendor if they ask to be paid in Bitcoin, and whether we need to have Bitcoin on our balance sheet should that happen. It's something we continue to study and look at, and we want to be thoughtful about over time, but we haven't made any changes yet.
What would be the tipping point for you, though? I mean, what is it you think you're either looking for, waiting for, that would actually put that over the top for you to make that decision?
Well, one of the key things we'd look at would be if people were asking to transact with us in Bitcoin, because then we might consider whether we would be transferring dollars to Bitcoin at the time of the transaction, or if we wanted Bitcoin on our balance sheet ready to complete that transaction. When we hedge currencies, when we do business in another country, when we think about all the different exposures that we have, we're really trying to match our assets and our liabilities. And we take the same approach to Bitcoin that we do to all the other types of risks that we have.
Awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there. And so just reiterating, this is something they're looking at. They have a lot of things to consider internally before they make a decision like this. Obviously, there's lots of heads and different people responsible for pulling the trigger on something like this. But we've seen some similar questions pop up here that people were speculating with about the Tesla Bitcoin purchase, which is basically taking payments in Bitcoin. Can they basically take payments as a company in Bitcoin and directly add it to your balance sheet that way? That's something that they're kind of talking about. The other thing that people are excited about with the Twitter conversation is to talk about potentially paying employees in Bitcoin, people who want it. So that's something that I think can really move the needle on adoption of cryptocurrencies, because if now individuals, in addition to these corporations, see them as a store of value or as a long-term investment vehicle, if they want to call it that. I know some people bristle at the idea of Bitcoin being an investment vehicle, but I could see that definitely becoming more and more common, where that's part of an employee package where they can opt into being paid with Bitcoin if the employee wants to just hold on to it or something like that. So yeah, this is really exciting. Again, at the end of the day, there's two things. It seems like Twitter be very likely for them to jump on this decision, because, like I said, Square was really early in the decision for one of the early key decision makers for buying Bitcoin for their balance sheet. Jack Dorsey's CEO of Twitter and Square. So yeah, I think it could be. I think it's a really likely bet at this point. And even if they don't, the fact that they're sitting there talking about this in public, it's a big deal. We keep talking about this sort of idea of corporate FOMO, where no company wants to be like the last major person to buy Bitcoin, right? There's sort of like this timid trade-off of like, who's going to be first, and then once people start doing it, then nobody wants to be the last person to do it. So somebody says ETH dropped massively. So let's jump in and check out and see what's going on in the markets today. I don't think ETH dropped massively, but we'll see. All right, so let's see here. Let's check on the ETH price for today. So we're hovering around 1704. Looks like yesterday we got up to 1,826. So yeah, it's kind of we're lower today than we were yesterday at this time. So it's gone down a little bit. I mean, if everybody who's new, like I always say, anytime something goes up kind of fast, like it's probably gonna come down in the short term. not necessarily the long term, but this is also how ETH kind of tends to move. I mean, you kind of see this like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back kind of scenario, where you have a big jump and then, like I said, as always, not a big TA guy. I'm not a big trader. Hold ETH for the long term, both ETH and Bitcoin, and a couple of DeFi projects. And yeah, I'm not too worried about this, right? Same with DeFi. I mean, we've seen a lot of DeFi stuff cool off lately. Like Aave was just going like mad, right? Let's see here, Aave. Let's see, we got up to 575, right? Now we're back down to close to 500. So I hold Aave. I got in a long time ago, and like I said, it's been on a crazy run. It's starting to cool off a little bit, but yeah, I'm not really worried about it right now. Check on Bitcoin as well. I don't think that the Twitter thing is enough to like totally move the needle on Bitcoin. Some people are kind of a little cautious though when these big announcements come out, because this makes ripples throughout. It makes huge ripples outside the crypto bubble, right? When these big companies like Tesla come in, people make speculations about Apple. People talk about Twitter getting into Bitcoin. Some people get a little worried about, newcomers starting to buy at that point, because it could be like a temporary, quote unquote, local top where, we see a big price jump and then it kind of corrects a little bit. And then newcomers, they experience their first drop before they've experienced their first increase, and then they get kind of scared and sell. So definitely, watch out for that kind of thing. As always, I'm a long-term holder, that kind of stuff. So somebody says, should I buy into ETH right now? So I'm not going to give buying advice. Unfortunately, can't do that. All right, so let's move on to some other news items here. So another thing it's really interesting, Elon's been in the spotlight all week for talking about Bitcoin, and of course he was talking a lot about Dogecoin while he was buying Bitcoin in the background. A lot of people have speculations onto why that is. Some people were saying that basically let's see here, that basically Elon was getting our attention on Dogecoin so he could accumulate Bitcoin in the background while the Bitcoin price was low. But he saw a tweet come out just this morning that said he bought some Dogecoin for a little X so he can be a toddler holder. So this is funny because, people have mixed reviews on Elon, talking about Doge so much. Some people think it's really dangerous because newbies are going to FOMO into Doge and then just lose their shirts. Some people think it's bad because it makes the crypto space look bad, like it's a scam coin that really doesn't do anything. Nobody actually uses the Dogecoin network for anything. That is just used for like price speculation. People do pump and dumps with Doge all the time, all that kind of stuff. So that's one perspective on it. Another perspective I saw yesterday, I think it was yesterday, come up, or maybe it was a couple days ago, was from Mark Cuban, who of course who's been really deep in the DeFi space lately. I've been talking about that on this channel. Seen a lot of stuff from Mark Cuban where he's actually been using DeFi protocols on Ethereum. We found Mark Cuban's Ethereum wallet. We can go see what his activity is. He's been using Aave. He's been talking about this on his Twitter publicly. He's named a bunch of DeFi protocols, publicly, like by name. But anyways, somebody says, when a Forbes reporter asked me about Dogecoin and whether I think it's a bad look for crypto and people start buying it, this is what he says. So no, it's not a bad look. Dogecoin is less than a dime. You can buy $1 or $10 worth and have fun watching it all day, every day, literally. And I say this with all seriousness. It's the best entertainment bang for your buck available. I bought a few dollars worth for my son, and we watch it and discuss all its price movements and why they occur. It's fun, it's exciting, it's educational for him. Some of his friends have even gotten to it as well. So he says a lot more about that, but I think it's an interesting take. You know what I mean? I've always said that, like, if people want to buy some Doge, as long as they know what they're getting into and that they're probably going to lose money in the short term, then it's fine, like, as for fun. It's not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy Doge or not. But when somebody asks me, like, personally, offline, not here on the internet, You know, like what's the deal with Doge? I'm like, it can be a fun thing, but I don't definitely don't ever recommend people use it for like gambling large sums of money because they're probably gonna get wrecked. That does give crypto a bad name, but if you treat Dogecoin like a meme coin that it is, you know what I mean? Like I don't think it's that big of a deal. So it's interesting. That's what I think, at least. So, has he got any more questions here in the chat? Yeah, Cuban. Yeah, Mark Cuban's been talking a lot about all this kind of stuff. So somebody says, do I think Tesla can buy ETH? I don't see why they couldn't. I've said this a lot on the channel lately, that I don't see ETH as being like the number one institutional pick for cryptocurrencies right now. I think Bitcoin has the strongest narrative behind it as, you know, a corporate store of value. I did a video recently, go check it out on my channel, talking about cryptocurrencies as a store of value. You know, we're kind of testing that hypothesis right now. We're seeing lots of votes of confidence in that direction for people like Tesla buying Bitcoin, you know, Apple looking at it and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, we're seeing lots of votes of confidence in that direction, and Bitcoin's got the strongest narrative for that behind it. But I personally think that long-term Ether can be a good store of value and maybe even better than Bitcoin. People bristle at that idea because they say, oh, Ether has an infinite supply, blah, 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 blah. But it's got a predictable inflation schedule, and the percentage inflation actually trends towards zero. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that being said, I think people are taking Ether more and more seriously. And we're already seeing institutional interest in it. I think we'll probably see more in the future. I make no promises, you know, not investment advice, but it wouldn't surprise me if Ether is the next big pick for institutions to put on their balance sheet, especially when they see the tremendous upside, when they see everything that we're doing with Ether. You can just do more with it. Your current ETH will convert to ETH 2.0, someone says. No, you won't need to buy new ETH. Somebody says Ether could flip Bitcoin if they can deliver on layer 2. I think Ether can flip Bitcoin long term. I don't think it's going to happen like this year. I mean, it might temporarily. It got really close in 2017. But I don't. I'm not going to be surprised if it doesn't, put it that way. Are there any technical benefits of Dogecoin compared to Ether Bitcoin? Nope. Not really. Somebody says explain DeFi. So basically DeFi is just taking existing financial products and moving them over to the blockchain at the very least. And it goes even beyond that to do things you can't do in the current traditional financial system with blockchain. So basically it's taking everything. It's basically creating new financial products with smart contracts on a world computer that are, you know, more transparent, more permissionless, more trustless than what we currently have. They're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we're moving in the right direction, put it that way. All right, so let's somebody asked me yesterday too, I want to go over an FAQ here. Somebody said, what's the best resource to show people in the traditional financial system about DeFi? And somebody in the chat here even said, can you explain DeFi? So go look this up. This is a tweet from the St. Louis Fed. I talked about this yesterday, but I want to reiterate it because I think this is such an important resource and a point to drive home. So basically, St. Louis Fed is one of the central banks in the United States. So talk about the central bank of the United States is basically made up of multiple banks. St. Louis Fed is one of them, and they published a paper, a study, whatever you want to call it, recently about what decentralized finance is and how it may lead to a paradigm shift in the financial industry. So this is the resource, honestly, that I would recommend people who are in traditional finance or people who, you know, are maybe of a different generation than people who just like watch YouTube and read internet articles, you know what I mean, for their information, because a lot of them, they have trust issues. I mean, they want to trust sources. They want to see things presented in a very more academic format, you know, very polished, very all that kind of stuff. Okay, and that's basically what this is. I mean, the St. Louis Fed published this paper, and it basically explains what DeFi is. It's all the fundamentals. It's got charts in it. Talks about Ethereum. How, I mean, it's pretty well researched. They seem to know what they're talking about. Sometimes when, like, you know, people outside the blockchain space start writing about blockchain technology, they get a lot of stuff wrong, but it's pretty good, to tell you the truth. So this is a good resource. Talk about the building blocks of DeFi, the layer aggregation, the protocol layer, asset layer, all that kind of stuff. Talk about multiple blockchains. Talk about how most of the value is on top of Ethereum, which is everything I've been saying on this channel lately. Talk about DAI, even like a decentralized stablecoin. Okay. The protocols, 0x, balancer curve, I mean, they got Uniswap in there. So it's like, yeah, it's crazy. So somebody says, can you explain DeFi? Go check out this paper. If you have friends, family, parents, people in the traditional financial system, people who are of maybe a little bit older generation that want that authority, want that trust from a quote unquote reputable source, show them this resource. I think it's going to be really good. So I get an answer another question that I got come in lately. I won't bring it up on screen because this person, I wasn't able to ask them if I could show the question or not. So I don't want to, you know, reveal their name or reveal their exact wording. But I'll just summarize what their question is, because I get this question a lot. Basically, the summary of their question was, hey, yeah, I've been watching this channel. I'm really interested in this technology, but I'm just not sure I'm like capable of doing it, right? Like not capable of learning it, not capable of hanging, basically, okay? So what I would say, I've always said this, basically, if you're interested enough in the technology and you're patient enough to just like sit with concepts and skills until they stick, there's no good reason to think that you can't do it, okay? And I mean that from like, no matter how you want to get involved in the blockchain industry. I'm going to specifically talk about people who want to become coders, because that's what I do. You know, those are the core skills that I teach on this channel. So I think this is true of all programming, but and it doesn't really change for blockchain. I think people have the capacity to succeed in this field if you can just sit with stuff long enough until it makes sense and not give up. I think, and you like it enough to do that. You're interested in it enough to do that. And if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, then that shouldn't really be a problem. A lot of people worry like, oh, am I smart enough? Like, am I, you know, capable? Whatever the sort of the self-doubt is. I think the real litmus test is just, do you like it enough to stick with it until it makes sense? That's sort of my answer for everybody. So I want to answer that question on the stream today because I get that question a lot. I know they're not the only person asking that question, so that's a FAQ I want to clear up today. So let's see. Got more questions in the chat here. So that DeFi paper is on the St. Louis Fed Twitter. So just Google like So if you're not in America and you're watching this, we call it St. Louis. I know that's like St. Louis, or, you know, it would be a better pronunciation. If you're talking about French, I don't really speak French either, but I know that St. Louis is not really how you pronounce the original name. That's just what we call it. So St. Louis Fed, look up St. Louis Fed DeFi Twitter. It should be the first result on Google. Yeah, somebody says they're in France, so they're probably laughing at how we talk about St. Louis. So somebody says I would strongly discourage day trading. So I personally don't like to trade. I'm a long-term holder. I lost a lot of money when I first got into cryptocurrency. I'm actually going to post a video later today about how I lost $15,000 the first time I got into cryptocurrency. So don't let that freak you out. But there's a lot of good lessons in that video that I personally learned and I think can be valuable for other people. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and you'll see that video when it comes out. Somebody says, everything I just read on the stock market today. Yeah, so I still think for now, like the crypto markets and the stock markets are pretty correlated, in the sense that like if the stock market just absolutely dumps today, I'm not saying it will, but just saying hypothetically speaking, if it did, then the crypto market's probably going to go down with it. We saw that last year in March when, you know, the global events happened and, you know, the US stock market knifed basically. The crypto markets went with it. So I think, you know, I think that's still the case for now. Somebody says ETH price prediction by the end of February. So no, I don't have an ETH price prediction by the end of February. So I'll reiterate sort of my stance on all this stuff. You know, I'm a long-term holder. I don't like short-term price predictions. I can tell you sort of my outlook on how I feel about the overall big picture. Because I think I feel pretty comfortable giving you a big picture outlook. I think the big picture outlook is good. That's how I personally feel about my own, you know, positions. Yeah, that being said, because some of the people who throw out price predictions are going to be right. A vast majority of them are going to be so wrong. They're going to be so wrong. And so what are those people going to do when like this time passes and their price predictions are like totally wrong? It's not going to be good. Some people are going to get wrecked because they listen to other people's short-term price predictions. It's okay to have price predictions. I'm just not going to sit up here and tell you what my short-term price predictions are because I don't think that's helpful. Somebody says, yes, I can speculate. I personally do have price predictions. I'm just not going to tell you what I think they are. Long term, I think ETH can be worth a lot more than it is today. This just, yeah, I'm just not a short-term price oracle, that's for sure. All right, everybody. I'll go ahead and answer one more question here before we wrap it up today. We got any more questions in the chat? So somebody says, best way to buy ETH, Coinbase's fees are crazy. That's how I personally I've personally used in the past has been Coinbase. I know there's lots of other options on the table. You could look at BlockFi. You could look. I'm assuming you're in the United States. You could look at BlockFi. You could look at Gemini. Yeah, a lot of people are saying Gemini in the chat. I haven't personally used Gemini, but a lot of people are saying that. So somebody says, who are the main players involved in auditing different blockchain companies? So I'm assuming you're talking about security auditing companies. There's a lot out there. Yeah, there's a lot. I don't want to like make any like official endorsements because I feel like I'm gonna leave people out. But you could look at like QuantStamp, like Trail of Bits, buddies over at Pepper Security. I don't know how much auditing they're doing these days. They've been focusing a lot on Tornado Cash. Oh, that's another thing to think about is the Tornado Cash airdrop. That was a pretty big deal. We'll talk about that maybe tomorrow in the live stream. It happened already, but maybe we'll talk about it more. Big DeFi airdrop. People made a lot of money off that one. Do I still hold my Ethereum? Yeah, I still hold my Ethereum. All right, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there for today. You know, as always, smash that like button down below if you haven't already subscribed to this channel. That really helps these videos out so more people can learn about blockchain. My apologies again today for the audio video issues. There's so many moving parts here, so many things that can break. It's actually a lot harder than it looks, especially coming from a programmer here. So we'll get all the stuff worked out. Hopefully it'll be smoother for you in the future. If you're excited if you're as excited about this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty today, how can you get started? Go to my YouTube homepage. You can find any of my free courses there, like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. You like those videos, you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely. I can show you a master blockchain step-by-step from start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right. You don't have to be an expert to get started now. I've helped people with zero programming experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.